Okay, so that title probably made you think someone got exposed. Like there's a feud. Like Jungkook said something. Like CORTIS clapped back. I need you to sit down for this one, because what actually happened is not drama, it's one of the most insane full-circle moments K-pop has produced in years, and almost nobody outside the hardcore fandoms even knows it happened. So let's just get into it, no fluff, straight to the receipts. For context, if you have no idea who any of these people are, think of it like this. Imagine if Justin Bieber's old, completely anonymous backup dancer from one of his arena tours suddenly debuted in a brand new boy band 5 years later, and then Bieber himself randomly started dancing to that new group's song at LAX with zero warning, caught completely on someone's phone camera. That's basically the scale of what just happened here. 2 years ago, there was a kid standing in the back of a stage. Not the star. Not even close to the star. A background dancer. The kind of person whose entire job is to be invisible while the camera stays locked on someone else's face. That kid was 17 years old, and the person he was dancing behind was Jungkook, during the 7 era, one of the biggest solo runs in K-pop history. That backup dancer's name is James. And right now, in 2026, James is a debuted idol in a group called CORTIS, BigHit Music's newest boy group, the same label that built BTS from absolutely nothing. And the artist he used to dance behind in total anonymity? He just publicly, randomly, unprompted, danced to James's group song. In an airport. On camera. With zero warning. If that doesn't sound like a movie plot to you yet, give me a second, because it gets so much better. Let's rewind properly first, because the backstory here is what makes this hit so hard. CORTIS debuted in August 2025 with a song called What You Want, and they came in carrying a weight most rookie groups never have to deal with, being the very first new boy group BigHit has launched in years. The second-year label is the same one that built the biggest boy band on the planet. Every single thing you do gets compared to them whether you like it or not. But CORTIS didn't fold. Their song REDRED did something rare. It didn't just chart and disappear, it kept growing for weeks and months after release, the kind of slow-burn virality most labels can't manufacture even with a massive budget. Now here's where James comes back into the story, and trust me, his backstory deserves its own video. Before CORTIS, James was part of a different group called Trainee, announced back in 2021. That group trained, prepared, did everything right, then disbanded in 2022 without ever debuting. No big moment, no farewell stage, just gone. That's the kind of thing that ends careers in this industry, years of work erased overnight. Most trainees in that position quietly disappear from the public eye completely. James didn't. He stayed with BigHit Music, picked up songwriting and composing credits for groups like idolize and TXT, and kept dancing, including landing a gig as one of the backup dancers for Jungkook's 7 performances on Inkigyo and during SUGA's D-Day tour finale. 17 years old, standing 2 feet behind one of the most famous men in pop music, completely unnoticed by the millions watching that stage. It wasn't until July 2025, 4 years after his first group collapsed, that he finally got announced as part of what would become CORTIS. So now fast forward to November 2025. A dance studio called puts out a video tracking James's journey from trainee to idol, and the internet was not ready for what was buried inside it. The clip opens with old 2023 footage, James in the background, dancing Jungkook's choreography, completely invisible. Then it cuts, seamlessly, to James today, fully debuted, recreating that exact same 7 choreography, except now he's the one being filmed. He's the one people came to watch. The caption just said, once a dancer, and now a star. That's it. No extra explanation needed, because the footage said everything by itself. Fans lost it instantly, calling it one of the most satisfying redemption arcs they'd seen in K-pop in years, and the wild part is, nobody manufactured this. It wasn't a planned reality show moment. It was just real footage from 2 completely different points in his life that happened to line up perfectly. But that's only half the story, because Jungkook himself shows up in this timeline too, and not as some old memory, as something that happened just months ago in real time. CORTIS's song REDRED was deep into its viral resurgence, the kind of slow-build virality where a song that's already been out for a while suddenly explodes online for no obvious reason other than people just won't stop using the choreography in their own videos. When fans spotted Jungkook at an actual airport, mid-travel, casually breaking into the REDRED choreography right there at the gate. Not on a stage. Not as part of any planned segment. An airport. In public. With fans and cameras catching every second of it, the footage immediately ricocheting across Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, basically every platform at once within hours. And here's the detail that makes it even crazier. He wasn't even alone. J-Hope, BTS's main dancer, the guy whose entire reputation is built on being one of the best performers in the genre, jumped in and joined him. Two BTS members, unprompted, dancing a rookie group's choreography in the middle of a transit terminal, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Think about how rare that actually is. Idols are notoriously careful in airports specifically, because it's one of the only places paparazzi and fans can catch them off guard. Most idols try to get through as fast and quietly as possible. Jungkook didn't do that. He stopped, did the choreography in public, with cameras already pointed at him, for a song that wasn't even his. That's not something a PR team schedules. That's not something you fake convincingly on camera. That's just two grown men who clearly knew the moves well enough to do them instinctively the second the song hit their ears. Now let's talk about how the internet actually reacted. The second that airport clip hit timelines, the comment sections turned into pure chaos, but the good kind. ARMY, BTS's fandom, immediately flooded the replies with stuff like, "This is the senior support we deserve," treating it like proof their idol is exactly as down-to-earth as they always claimed. CORTIS fans, still a relatively small but extremely loud fanbase since the group only debuted a few months prior, were basically losing their minds, because getting co-signed by Jungkook this early in your career is the kind of thing most rookie groups wait years for. And then there was a third group, regular pop culture accounts with zero stake in either fandom, reposting the clip with captions like, "Wait, this is actually so wholesome," which is honestly how most stories like this go properly viral, the random bystanders who stumble onto it and can't help but spread it. Once people connected the dots and realized James used to literally be Jungkook's backup dancer, the whole story leveled up again, with side-by-side comparison videos and slow-motion breakdowns flooding timelines. Stan Twitter accounts that normally only post chart data were suddenly posting heartfelt threads about growth, and the universe has a sense of humor. If you want a comparison point that actually translates for a US audience, think about how rare it is for an A-list artist here to publicly, spontaneously vibe out to a brand new artist's song in a paparazzi setting, with zero PR spin involved. It usually gets framed as a calculated cosign, dropped during an interview, something a publicist clearly had eyes on before it went out. This was caught candid, unscripted, by random fans with their phones out, the kind of moment a celebrity literally cannot control once it's out there. That's exactly why it hit different than your average shoutout. So obviously, CORTIS got asked about this almost immediately, and their reaction is honestly the sweetest part of the entire story. They showed up on SBS Power FM's Wendy's Young Street radio show in May 2026, fresh off their first music show win on M Countdown for their second mini-album, Taehyung. When the host asked which celebrity shout-out they remembered most, they brought up a couple of athletes who'd been listening to their music, then almost immediately mentioned Jungkook. One member said he was so grateful and that he especially didn't expect the location to be an airport. Another described being so touched that he danced to their song, saying they never in their wildest dreams imagined that happening at an airport specifically. This wasn't some rehearsed, company-approved thank you. They were genuinely stunned that one of the most famous idols on the planet, someone who used to literally have backup dancers, including their own member, just busted out their choreography in public with zero warning. And that's really what makes this whole thing land so much harder than your average celebrity shoutout. This isn't big star supports small group, which happens constantly and usually means almost nothing. This is a direct, closed loop. James spent years physically standing behind Jungkook, performing his choreography, completely invisible. 2 years later, Jungkook is the one performing James's group's choreography, completely unprompted, with cameras catching every second. The student finally got seen, and the artist he once silently shadowed turned around and handed the spotlight right back to him, probably without even realizing the full symbolism of what he was doing in that moment. Here's another layer most people miss entirely. James isn't even Korean. He's the first and only member from Hong Kong in BigHit Music and the only full foreigner on their roster. Training inside a system overwhelmingly built around Korean idols, surviving a group disbandment that would have ended most careers, working anonymously behind global superstars for years, picking up songwriting credits for acts like ILIT and TXT that nobody outside the industry would ever notice, and still ending up debuted, in a viral moment, connected directly to one of BTS's biggest members. That's not a small underdog story. That's the kind of arc that, if you pitched it as fiction, people would say it's too neat to be real. And let's talk about how unscripted this was. K-pop is one of the most tightly managed industries on the planet. Every outfit, every caption, every public comment usually goes through layers of company approval before fans ever see it. An airport dance break, caught by random bystanders instead of an official fan cam team, bypasses all of that. Nobody scheduled this. It just happened because two artists genuinely liked a song enough to move to it, with no incentive to fake it. Here's what makes it even more interesting if you zoom out. Rookie groups under massive labels usually get resented before they even drop a single song, simply because they're inheriting comparisons they never asked for. It would have been completely normal for fans of the bigger group to look at the new group with skepticism, or for the rookies to feel pressure to distance themselves just to prove they're not riding anyone's coattails. Instead, the opposite played out. Two storylines that had every reason to stay completely separate ended up colliding in the most unscripted, camera-caught way possible, and somehow it landed as wholesome instead of awkward. Now, you'd think a story like this would be huge, instant headlines everywhere, but it actually spread the exact way the best K-pop moments always do, organically, through fan cams and screenshots and random comment sections, not press releases. CORTIS fans got to watch their members' old, invisible labor turn into a viral, full-circle redemption story. ARMY got to watch Jungkook show real, public love for a label-mate group without it feeling forced or scripted. And people who had no idea who CORTIS even was got pulled into the story completely by accident, the same way you probably just did watching this video. So let's bring this back to the actual question in the title: what really happened between CORTIS and Jungkook? What happened is a senior artist, completely unprompted, danced to a rookie group's viral song in public, while one of his own former backup dancers was sitting right there in that group, having already quietly recreated Jungkook's own choreography himself months before any of this. What happened is two BTS members showing real, visible support for a brand new group still trying to find its footing, the kind of support that literally cannot be faked because the cameras just happened to catch it in the wild. What happened is an industry usually obsessed with comparisons and competition accidentally producing one of the most wholesome senior-junior moments fans have seen in ages, completely by accident, completely unscripted, completely real. Let me ask you something. Do you think James ever imagined, back when he was just an invisible backup dancer with no guaranteed future, that the same choreography would one day be performed by the exact artist he once stood behind, completely on his own terms? So if you clicked on this expecting beef, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I promise this is so much better. Drop your honest reaction in the comments. Do moments like this actually matter for how rookie groups get accepted by other fandoms? Or is it just a nice clip that gets forgotten in a week? And if you're into these quiet, real, full-circle stories, hit subscribe, because there is so much more of this industry worth talking about than just the drama everyone else keeps chasing.